Fundora is what he is. He's he's a very fun fighter. He's gonna be because he's tall and he could easily be a boring fighter, right? For those one of these tall guys who just makes it awkward and it stinks out the joint. But instead, he fights at short range despite being tall, and he's awkward. You can't box him traditionally, and that's what I think Booker went wrong. He tried to box him traditionally, and you got to kind of come outside of your style and fight him the way Lubin tried, even though he wasn't successful. And we know the reason Mendoza was able to catch him and knock him out, right? Booker, a pretty good little fighter, but he tried to basically box in a traditional way against Fundora. You can't box a 6'7", 154 pounder in a traditional way who's a lefty. It doesn't happen. And so I don't think Booker had a plan B. It was a strategic re-entry fight. Booker's a pretty good fighter, so it's not like there's an egg on Fundora's face for fighting him. But of course, that's not the kind of fighter you're expected to keep fighting. But unless you're Canelo, then you can fight those kind of guys every fight you want. But Fundora, I think, will now step up to a bigger fighter, a bigger name fighter, a more difficult fighter. But I don't think it was the worst fight in the world as far as you have to re-enter after a year off. You had you broke your nose in the Tszyu fight, and I think that really allowed him to make a statement, and now there's going to be a demand for other fights.
How do you get past that Fundora jab?
Fundora's jab isn't even that good. I mean, you watch Tszyu. Fundora does not fight like a tall fighter. He fights at close range, and he likes to, bang, and then so he's very hittable. Getting past the jab is not your problem with Fundora. The problem with Fundora is everything else. He actually knows how to fight at close range, despite his long arms and despite his big frame. He knows how to fight at close range very, very well. He reminds me in that way a little bit of what Diego Corrales was, back in the day. He was a tall fighter who preferred to be on the inside and fight on the inside, and could make space for the short uppercuts and short hooks. That's one of the things Fundora does well. One of the things he doesn't do well, I think his jab should be better. But it's even when he tried the jab against Tszyu, I mean, Tszyu was coming over the top constantly, hitting him with right hands, broke his nose. It wasn't until Tszyu got cut that Fundora was able to take advantage of that fight. So that's what makes Fundora interesting. He's a 6'7" guy who doesn't really have a great jab. He tries to use it at times, but he's a 6'7" guy who fights on the inside. And for that reason, he's fun and interesting to see. And I think however long he lasts, I don't think he's here for a long time. I think he's here for a good time. And I think it's going to be fun to keep watching him until somebody else knocks his block off, which I think is only a matter of time. But I think he's a good fighter. And I think he's, guys like that are good for boxing.
And that footwork at that height, are you impressed? Because that impresses me after seeing that Pro Box main event. That was kind of what I noticed in that main event was the dude was way bigger than the other guy, but his footwork was awful.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, again, Fundora's not one of these guys who's a footwork guy. He's
really
one of these guys.
I'm noticing the wrong shit then.
Yeah, Fundora's, he like I said, he's more of a middle to close range fighter at his best. He's not going to be on the outside boxing and all this other stuff. You may see it at moments, but I think Fundora's temperament is also to put hands on you. And so in trying to put hands on you, he also gets hands put on him. But yeah, in the Pro Box fight with Lester Martinez, I think Lester Martinez, by the way, is going to really enter the fray soon, if not now, after that kind of win. He's been continuing to be impressive. He's got a very high knockout percentage at super middleweight. Guatemalan fighter. I don't think there's ever been a Guatemalan boxing world champion. So he might be the first. He's, ex-Olympian and a top amateur. Really, really fun. And I think Joshan James really had the wrong approach. He was staying way too low for the height that he's at, and had his left hand down while dipping down low. And I think that's why Lester couldn't miss him with the right hand. That'll be another fun guy to watch. Speaking of fun fighters, it's a good transition.
My mom loved it.
Yeah, Lester will be fun. I think he's also another one who's kind of beatable, but he's world class like Fundora is, and he'll be fun while he lasts. I think he actually may hit a little harder than Fundora as well. Lester's a pretty solid puncher.
So the WBC ordered Fundora versus Zayas. You've been a big Zayas supporter for the last few years.
Interesting. That's actually a pretty good fight, because I think I always wondered how Zayas enters the fray in a very tough weight class, because there is just one killer after another in this weight class.
Every episode we're talking about it.
And I was like, as good a prospect as Zayas is, can I say he's even ready? I don't even know if he's ready. It's crazy, like this tough weight class. But Fundora slipped through the cracks, and he's actually beatable, but fun. I think if there is a way for Zayas to slip in there, it's actually fighting Fundora. It's not an easy fight. I mean, the fact that Fundora is kind of like the the softer touch out of all the top 154 pounders is crazy, because that's not a soft touch at all. That's a tough dude to deal with. And the fact that you could say Fundora is actually the softest touch maybe out of the very top 154 pounders, goes to show you just how tough this weight class is. But if there's one way to go, I guess for Zayas, that's the chance. It's not going to be easy, but I tell you what, it's going to be fun, because Zayas is fun to watch. Fundora is fun to watch. It's going to take some digging down. Fundora obviously digs down. I think Zayas it's going to be a little baptism by fire. But I think Zayas has a chance to win that fight. But at the same time, so does Fundora. It would be a tough one for me to pick. It would be a good fight.
Fans are 61% on Fundora's side, 39 Zayas, but the comments are all saying Zayas is going to give Fundora a boxing lesson.
Yeah, I don't know about whole boxing lesson. I think it's a tough fight, but I could see Zayas winning. I mean, it's not like it's out of the ordinary. I think Zayas is a good fighter. Like I said, this is just a tough weight class. This is a tough weight class to the point where there's going to be times where weight classes are so tough that really good fighters don't win world championships. It's just the generation that they come along in, you know? I've seen some of these kind of guys, you know? Andre Durrell, Luke Campbell, you know? Very good fighters that I thought were very good fighters that never won world championships. You know, they came around in a time where, you know, they were very difficult to deal with, you know? Durrell's world championships attempts were at Carl Froch and James DeGale, lost to very good world champions. Luke Campbell's championship attempts were against Lomachenko and Jorge Linares, very good world champions. You know, it's like sometimes you just come along at a tough time, you know? And you may be a really good fighter who's of the championship medal, but you may not win it because you came along at the wrong time. Zayas is in danger of that, I think, for sure. You know, there is a tough weight class right now. Zayas is certainly, for me, championship material, but because it's a difficult generation, I don't know if that's a guarantee that he will win a world championship. He is championship material, though.
That feels like the premier matchup at 154. That's the one I want to see the most, at least.
What?
Zayas Fundora.
Yeah, I'd want to see Zayas Fundora too. But for me, the premier guy at 154 right now, after what I saw him do to Tszyu, is Bakram Murtazayev. I mean, he looks like a bitter bee of a 154. So I need to see more of him to see if that's what he is, if he's the real deal, or if he's going to be, you know. But just like Beterbiev, I think he's also going to be avoided. You know, I don't know. You know, he's the IBF 154-pound champion. I know Erickson Lubin's in an IBF eliminator May 10th on Pro Box TV. And I know if Lubin's able to win that fight, he becomes a mandatory for Murtazayev. So that's another kind of a litmus test for Murtazayev, is just how much of a destroyer he is. Because, you know, Lubin obviously is a good fighter, but he's a guy that Fundora beat. And he's also another very good fighter. He's one of those fighters that I'm talking about. He's championship material, but he's never been a world champion. So, you know, and against Murtazayev, we're going to see if Murtazayev continues to be the real deal, or if Lubin can knock him off. But first, like I said, I want to put the cart before the horse. Lubin has a May 10th IBF eliminator on Pro Box TV and our main event that night.